Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well, and it's time for a bit of a talky type thing. So I'm into retro gaming, which I think you might be as well, unless you clicked on the wrong video. But the one that's got the fondest memory for me in terms of nostalgia is the first computer I played growing up at junior school, and that was the ZX Spectrum 48K. So that's why I review those type of 8-bit computers, and that's not to say that it's better than the Commodore 64 or the Atari 8-bit systems or even the Amstrad CPC. This is the computer I grew up with, so I've got the fondest memories of the games, the feel of it, of even typing stuff in. I like history of computers, so I appreciate there's other systems as well, Commodore 64 and the others I mentioned there, but I didn't own one, so that's why I don't review them. Now, I'm not one of these people, as hopefully that comes across, that say everyone that had a Commodore 64 is an idiot and the Spectrum 48K is the greatest ever, or everyone that owned a Amstrad CPC was stupid and don't know what they're talking about. If I was to put it in sort of like, say, a sporting type arena, you know the difference between football fans that sometimes have a fight and slag each other off over social media sets of fans. I'm more of a, which I think it should be, a rugby sort of fan when it comes to these system. So I could be sitting in the stand with a lot of Commodore 64 supporters supporting the ZX Spectrum 48K, and I respect them and they will respect me, and so forth. That's how it all goes together. So retro gaming as a whole, rather than just screaming that one system is a lot better than the others. Okay, hopefully you know what I mean. But anyway, retro gaming is quite big at the moment. It's built up over the last few years, which is quite apparent if you have a general mosey on how many retro game channels there are on YouTube. A lot of them dormant, a lot of them don't seem to last very long, and you've got others just gradually building up over a long length of time, which is mine is one of them, so thanks for clicking on this. Now with that, in 2015, you might have been aware, I think I might have covered it in a previous blog, they tried to relaunch the ZX Spectrum 40K 8K in a sort of like a version which they didn't do on the other systems, so must be some sort of popularity there, in the form of the Spectrum Vega. Now basically, if you're unaware of what the Spectrum Vega was, it's essentially a small plug and play device that come with 1,000 games which you can connect to a television and play your Spectrum games. It was crowdfunded by Indiegogo with the blessing of Sir Clive Sinclair. As I said, it had 1,000 preloaded games on it. Some of the big ones weren't there, and there were quite a lot of weird ones. I don't think Jet Set Willy was on it, and there's weird games like Willy the Wasp, but there's a few big ones on there of note to make it a bit worthwhile. And also as well, the Vega, it featured a micro SD slot. So in theory, if you had the files, you could upload games into it as well. Now it was quite small, and it was one of the systems I was thinking of maybe getting a modern day relaunch. What could be better? But the price put me off. For what it was, it did look rather basic. It cost £100. That's way too much compared to if you just run these things on a normal computer. And there's even websites where you can actually play them live anyway via that. So £100 is a bit much, and it didn't have too many features. There's no HD output, for example, and it looked, from the reviews I read, it looked pretty basic, so people weren't really thinking they was getting £100 worth, what essentially was a bit of circuitry in a fairly light and small box. So that's what put me off, and I kept my eye on it to see if it had come down. But basically, you're up against it a bit really, because although retro gaming is big, it's got to appeal to a new audience as well to buy this thing. And by all sense of accounts as well, the quality wasn't very good. Some games when it connected to the TV, and the control mechanism wasn't that great either, but although it was a good idea. So I left that alone for a bit to see how that would develop. Now, there has been a development on this. In 2016, which is this year in time of recording, it's been announced they're going to release the ZX Spectrum Vega Plus. Now, they've really tried to modernise this and get an idea of what's going to sell to make it appeal to people. And they've moved away from this plug and play device, and it's a rather plush looking handheld, which I'm going to show you some images here. And this looks quite decent. Now, I don't know what the price is going to be on this, but I presume it's going to be round about £100 as well. It's by a company called Retro Computers, which I believe did the original Vega. And of this company, Sir Clive, maker of the original ZX Spectrum, actually owns a small stake in it. So it's got good backing, again funded by Indiegogo. Now, they say they've actually got the funds available and have already made a prototype of this device, which is working. It's got games like it's either School Days or Back to School running quite smoothly. It's got an LCD screen, which is great, and like the original Vega, it can actually connect to a TV. So hopefully they've sorted out some of those issues. Connect to a Power TV or NTSC television. Now, the one thing that scares me a little bit, although no doubt it does it a lot cooler than the original Vega, it's the control system really. Now, with a lot of ZX Spectrum games, I play using a joystick, and this thing's got a bit of a D-pad on it. Now, some games like Attic Attack, I suppose you can get away with it, Commando and so forth, but you do need the joystick. I mean, you've got other games like, Afterburner and other games like that, where you need actually the joystick. Now, things like Daily Thomas Decathlon, forget about it on this. And also as well, I don't know how it's going to work, but there's text games as well, where you're typing in text or inputting stuff. This looks a bit of a pain on the D-pad, but as I say, no one's actually seen a real one. It's just a prototype at the moment, so whether they're going to make an adjustment or whether you can connect a keyboard to it, but no doubt to say it is a lot better than the original Vega, so it's a step in the right direction. Now, the concept design is by a guy called Rick Dickinson, who designed the original ZX80, 81 and the ZX Spectrum 48K from my youth, so that has really got a lot going for it. And Sir Clive Sinclair himself is quoted as saying, the reason behind this is the present surge of interest in retro products inspired me to plan the Vega Plus as a handy game console which can be played anywhere. Well, that's 100% the right thinking. Now, I've got, handheld wise, I've got a PS Vita and a Game Boy Advance. It's the Game Boy Advance that gets the most look in, because that's, well, more retro than the Vita at the moment. If I can carry a ZX Spectrum around with me and play that on the bus, that's going to get a hell of a lot of play. Now, whether it's going to appeal to the new people coming in that didn't grow up with this, I don't know, but it does look cool, so it might attract a few to play these plug-and-play games. If the price is correct, I mean, £100 still seems a little bit steep to me, but at least you're getting more for your money. Original Vega owners, feel a bit sorry for you, but you still got the device, so you might want to get this as well, but then that's, if it is £100, £200 down the hole, doesn't it? So yeah, what do you think about this? Have you read any articles about the ZX Spectrum Vega? Due to, the last report I read, due to come out in the summer of 2016. Might be keeping a close eye on that. Hopefully it's less than 100. If it is, well, that's certainly going to get bought. So the ZX Spectrum Vega Plus, tell me what you think about that. Will you be keeping an eye on it? Would you buy it? Or even say, even if they produced a miniature handheld Commodore 64 you can take around with you, or as Amstrad CPC, would that be better? Would you buy that? Now, I know other devices have emulators, but this is a designated system for the ZX Spectrum. So yeah, I hope you liked hearing my thoughts about that. I'd love to hear from you as well. It's a step in the right direction, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's another incarnation of this. Can play 48K games and 128K. So, there we go. Thanks for watching as always, and till next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.